Story 1.
You wouldn't believe the stuff I've gotten myself into. Just trying to fix up my old house in our little town turned into something out of a horror flick. It started with a creaky old bed and an even older, creepier doll I found in the attic. My mom had sent it years ago and I never liked it. Those glassy eyes were just too much. So when I needed something to stop the squeak in the bed, I popped out one of the doll's eyes. Sounds nuts, I know. The next day, things took a turn for the weird. That doll now missing an eye showed up on my doorstep. Gave me a real scare, considering I'd chucked it with the trash. I tossed it again, farther away this time, thinking maybe some local kids were pulling a prank. But the weirdness didn't stop. The TV turned on by itself one night, blaring a creepy voice saying, "I'm back for my eye." Freaked me out good. Then these strange texts started popping up on my phone, saying things like, "Google now wants your eye." It was like living in a bad dream. Trying to keep my mind off it, I carried on fixing the house. That's when I had a nasty fall. I was up on a ladder painting the living room, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground out cold. Waking up in the hospital was surreal. My eye was all bandaged up, and I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. But then I saw it. That same one-eyed doll, sitting right there on the windowsill in my hospital room. Its eye, so much like mine, was staring right at me. I freaked, asking the nurse about it. She looked confused, and when she turned to look, it was gone. Just disappeared. The doctors said I was lucky. The fall could have been much worse. They kept me for observation, but all I could think about was that doll and its one good eye, identical to mine. Every time the door opened, I half expected to see it again, but it never showed up. Finally, the day came when I was discharged. I packed up my things, eager to get out of there. The nurses wished me well, and I hobbled out, still a bit unsteady. The ride home was quiet, and I couldn't help but keep looking in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see that doll in the back seat. But it was just me and my thoughts. Pulling up to my house, I felt this sense of dread. What if the doll was there, waiting for me? I took a deep breath and went inside. The house was just as I'd left it, no sign of the doll. I tried to relax, make some dinner, but every creak and groan of the old house put me on edge. Later that night, I decided to check the attic, just to be sure. The stairs creaked under my weight as I climbed up, my heart pounding. I flicked on the light and... nothing. Just dusty boxes and old furniture. No doll. Feeling a bit silly, I headed back downstairs. That's when I heard it. A soft thump like something had just been set down. My heart leaped into my throat. I slowly turned around, and there, at the foot of the attic stairs, was the doll. Its one glassy eye seemed to sparkle in the dim light. I froze, not sure what to do. Then the doll's mouth began to move, and that same eerie voice from the TV whispered, "Thank you for my eye." I couldn't move, couldn't scream. The last thing I remember was the doll inching closer, its eye gleaming with a life of its own. And then, darkness. That's where my story ends, for now. Me standing there, face to face with that one-eyed doll, and then nothing but black. What happened next? Well, that's a story for another time. But let's just say I won't be doing any more DIY for a while.
Story 2.
All right, so here's the deal. When I lost my job back in the city, it was like the rug got pulled out from under us. My wife Emily and I, we had to think quick on our feet. That's when this old cabin in Vermont, that I kinda inherited from a relative I barely even knew, seemed like our only option. It was tucked away in the woods, real remote and kind of spooky, like something straight out of a horror flick. The cabin was this big, creaky thing, and it looked like no one had set foot in it for 100 years. The attic was crammed full of old junk, and right there in the middle of all that dust was this toy soldier. This wasn't your cheerful, nutcracker type soldier. Nope. This one had chipped paint, and its smile was more of a twisted grimace. Gave me the creeps right off the bat. First night we were there, this wild storm hits and knocks out all the power. The cabin's groaning and creaking, and the wind's howling like a pack of wolves. Emily and I, we're huddled up in bed, feeling like the last two people on Earth. Come morning, I notice the toy soldier isn't where I left it. Now it's over by the window, staring out into the woods. I figured maybe I moved it and forgot, but deep down, I wasn't so sure. After that, things went from weird to straight up bizarre. That toy soldier started popping up all over the house. One morning, it's sitting on the kitchen counter. Next evening, it's lounging on our couch. But the creepiest part was waking up one night and finding it at the foot of our bed, just staring. Emily tried making light of it, but I could tell she was just as spooked as I was. Nighttime was the worst. We kept hearing these footsteps in the attic. I'd go up there, flashlight in hand, heart pounding like crazy. But every time, it was the same thing. Nothing but that toy soldier sitting somewhere new. I started having these nightmares where I'd be wandering the cabin and those cold, dead eyes of the soldier would be following me around. So I hit up the local library, trying to dig up anything I could about the cabin or that freaky toy. The librarian, this old lady who looked like she knew a thing or two about spooky stuff, told me the cabin had a long history of weird goings-on, but she didn't know squat about any toy soldier. And forget about internet research. The connection out there was like something from the Stone Age. That's when stuff really hit the fan. One night, Emily swears she hears whispering coming from the attic. I tried to brush it off as the wind, but who was I kidding? I was scared out of my mind. Then, this one night, we hear this loud bang. We wake up and there's the toy soldier right on our dresser, looking at us. That's when I knew we had to bail. I was like, Emily, we can't stay here. This place is messed up. But the cabin wasn't done with us yet. That last night, it was like the whole place came to life. We heard these creepy, childlike giggles and the sound of something dragging in the attic. Shadows were darting around just in the corner of our eyes, and that damn toy soldier. It was everywhere we went, always watching. In a moment of pure panic, I grabbed the soldier and tossed it into the fireplace. As soon as it hit the flames, the cabin erupted into this ear-piercing scream. The wall started shaking like it was the end of the world. We didn't stick around to see what would happen next. We got the heck out of there, driving away from that nightmare as fast as we could. We never went back, and I never tried to find out more about that toy soldier. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, you know? The whole thing shook us up pretty bad. It's one of those experiences that sticks with you, makes you wonder about all the creepy things out there hiding in the shadows, just waiting for the next unlucky person to stumble upon them. That cabin, man, it had its secrets, and I'm just fine letting them stay secrets.
Story 3.
Sit tight, 'cause this ain't your regular horror story. It's about this freaky doll and the whole crazy ride it took me on. I'm just a regular Jane from a tiny town in Maine. You know, where everyone's in your business. One lazy Saturday, I'm at this yard sale when my eyes land on this old, creepy doll. It's got this porcelain face, all cracked up, and a faded dress. The seller, old Mr. Henderson, gives me this eager look and says, "It's free. Take it." His eyes were kind of wild, should have been my cue to bolt, but nope, I took it. Now, my house is this quaint, family heirloom sort of place, but it gets real spooky after dark. First night with the doll, I hear these thuds from the living room. I'm thinking, maybe it's a raccoon or something, but no, it's the doll, smack in the middle of the room. Gave me the heebie-jeebies, but I thought maybe I misplaced it. Next morning, I chuck it in the bin. But get this. The next day, there it is, back on my porch, staring with those dead eyes. I tossed it deeper into the woods, but it kept returning, like some twisted game. How I got weirder fast. I'd wake up at night with this feeling of being watched. And yep, there it was, every single time. at the end of my bed, just staring. After a while, I didn't even bother to scream. I tried talking about it to my neighbor, Jim. He's seen some stuff, but he just laughed it off. Haunted dolls are big online, he said. But I wasn't looking to get famous. I just wanted to sleep without this creepy doll watching me. So I tried everything. Burning it? Nope. Wouldn't burn. Burying it? Useless. It always came back, more ragged, but those eyes, man, they never changed. Then this one night, it's like the room dropped to freezing. I see the doll at the foot of my bed, and its eyes, I kid you not, were glowing. I felt this heaviness, like it was pulling the life out of me. I snapped, bolted out of the house, running like the devil himself was after me. Barefoot, in my PJs, through the woods. When I finally got back, the doll was gone. But things didn't get better. People in town, they started giving me these looks, whispering out when I walked by. I guess I looked a mess, always jumpy, talking to myself. I started hearing things, whispers, felt like someone his size were always on me. I don't even know what's real anymore. I'm always on edge, always feeling watched. I can't shake this feeling that the doll's still out there, biding its time. It's like it left a curse on me. And the worst part? I don't know how to get rid of it. It's like I'm trapped in this endless horror show, and there's no waking up from it. I tried going back to that yard sale spot, but Mr. Henderson was long gone. I asked around, but nobody seemed to know much about him. It's like he vanished into thin air. Then things at home started moving around. I'd find my stuff not where I left it, doors open that I knew I closed. One night I heard this soft, creepy singing, but there was nobody there. It was like the air was thick with something sinister. I even saw shadows darting around corners, but when I'd look, nothing. I went to a local priest, thinking maybe he could help. He listened, all serious-like, and then he said he'd pray for me. But I could see in his eyes he didn't really believe me. It's been months now, and I'm living in this constant state of fear. I got locks on my doors, salt lines on the windows, but nothing helps. Every creak in the house, every shadow, makes my heart race. I'm tired. So tired, but I can't sleep. Not really. 'Cause every time I close my eyes, I see that doll's face, those glowing eyes. I've heard stories about haunted things, but I never believed them. Now, I don't know what to believe. All I know is, this thing, whatever it is, it's got a hold on me. And I don't know if I'll ever be free of it. It's like living in a nightmare, but I'm wide awake.
Story 4.
You wouldn't believe the weirdness I got myself into. It all started when I picked up some funky old toys at a yard sale. I live in this small, sleepy town, the kind where people know each other's dogs by name. So when I saw this yard sale at the edge of town, at this old weathered house, I thought, why not? There were these old toys, real vintage-looking stuff, perfect for my niece who's into that sort of thing. Bringing them home felt off, but I chalked it up to being overtired. But that night, man, things took a turn for the creepy. Woke up to this thudding noise in the living room. Thought maybe it was my dog, Buster, up to his usual shenanigans. Next morning, I found one of those yard sale dolls just sitting there on my kitchen table, staring at me with these glassy eyes. Gave me the willies, I tell ya. From there, it was like living in some low-budget horror movie. Buster started acting all kinds of crazy, barking and whimpering at those toys. They moved around on their own, like they had a mind of their own or something. It was like they were watching me. Then, local news started reporting these freak accidents, always involving toys, just like the ones I bought. People getting hurt in the strangest ways. I tried to tell myself it was just a coincidence, but deep down, I felt like those toys I brought home were bad news. I called up my sister, told her to keep my niece away from those toys. She thought I was joking at first, but she could hear the panic in my voice. "You sure you're okay?" she asked, all worried like. I just played it off, told her I was fine. One night, things got real bad. I woke up and there was one of those dolls right at the foot of my bed. Its eyes seemed to glow in the dark. It moved, like it was reaching out to me. I lost it, screamed my lungs out, and locked myself in the bathroom. The rest of the night was a blur. I heard things outside the door like whispers and soft dragging sounds. By morning, the noises stopped. I peeked out, heart racing. The house was dead silent, and those creepy toys were gone. Vanished without a trace. I looked everywhere, but they were nowhere to be found. It was like they just disappeared into thin air. I kept wondering, what in the world happened? But I didn't dare tell anyone, worried they'd think I'd gone off the deep end. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. My once cozy home felt like a stranger's place. I started sleeping with the lights on, jumping at every little sound. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, listening, half expecting to hear those whispers or see those glowing eyes again. Days turned into weeks. Life sort of went back to normal, or as normal as it could get after something like that. But I couldn't forget. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of a shadow had me on edge. I stopped going to yard sales, especially on the edge of town. Something about that one house, those toys, it just didn't sit right with me. I talked to some folks in town, casually asking about the old couple in their house, but no one seemed to know much about them, like they were just there one day and gone the next. It added another layer of mystery to the whole thing. One night I was watching TV, trying to relax, when Buster started barking like mad, his fur standing on end. He was staring at something behind me. My heart skipped a beat. I turned around slowly, and there, sitting on the coffee table, was one of those dolls. Its one eye seemed to bore into me, full of malice. I don't know how it got back into my house. I grabbed the nearest thing, a book, and threw it at the doll. It fell to the floor, but then it started moving. Inching towards me, I backed away, stumbling over the couch. My mind was racing, heart pounding out of my chest. Buster was growling now, his eyes fixed on the doll. In a panic, I grabbed Buster and bolted out of the house, slamming the door behind me. We didn't stop running until we reached my sister's place a few blocks away. I told her everything, the whole crazy story. She didn't say much, just listened with wide eyes. We went back to my house the next day, but the doll was gone again. No trace of it, like it had never been there. That was it for me. I couldn't stay in that house anymore. I packed up my stuff and stayed with my sister for a while. The last I heard, the old couple's house was empty. The yard sale stuff all gone, so here I am, starting over in a new place, trying to forget about those haunted toys. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can hear faint whispers, and I wonder if it's really over. But for now, all I can do is hope those toys are gone for good.